And hello, everybody. How's it going? It is Annette the Peacemaker with her dear friend and brother, David Warren, who I always call Davey. So, Davey and I have been friends for probably going on about 20 years now, getting pretty close to 20 years. And we talk to each other a lot in video. Yeah, we're getting close, dude, to 20. And we talk to each other a lot. Maybe not every day, but several times a week. And I just felt like joining to just put it out to the public, because we talk about some heavy shit sometimes. And I've invited a couple other friends to join us as well. And then actually right now I'm going to put the link again in the comments. Copy to clipboard. Let's put it in the comments. And then anybody that is watching this right now is free to jump in. Just don't be an asshole. That's my only request. So,
amen.
All right. So before we talk about like the riots and the protests and George Floyd and all of that, I would like to, Davey invited me to watch this rocket launching today. And I don't know if I hurt your feelings, dude. I just was not in the mood for it. Like, I just don't care. But other people probably do care. Other people probably are interested in that.
Sure.
So I would love for you to tell us. I didn't hurt your feelings? Good. Okay, good. I wasn't mad either. So that's just not where my focus was. Yeah. So why don't you tell me and anybody who might be watching what happened today with the rocket?
Well, it was pretty much a picture-perfect launch. It was they set on the launch pad for a long time, and we're all watching the weather, hoping the weather would clear. But basically, the main reason that it is significant is that is the first time we have launched our astronauts into space since the space shuttle program stopped 9 years ago. And every time we've launched people into space for the International Space Station, I think we've done it from either Russia or China. I think mostly Russia. I think the Soyuz rocket has basically been the vehicle to take people to the space station. So it's a brand new it's a brand new vehicle, and it is a commercial vehicle. It was designed by SpaceX. It was not designed by NASA. It was designed by basically private business. But they are. I'm not sure about that. But they were taking the two pilots on board, Bob and Doug, and not the McKenzie brothers, eh? Big Hoser. Their names are Bob and Doug. They're both. One of them is a Marine Corps pilot, I believe. The other was a Navy pilot. But they're test pilots, so they, they basically took their lives into their hands to attempt this, and it went off beautifully. Hopefully, they'll have a successful mission to dock with the station. They have new docking gear and all that stuff. So to me, at the end of a really, really, really bad week, where just everybody is in tears, everybody is really hurt about George Floyd, and it was like one little shining, happy moment where we could be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, just something we could do. And I found it quite uplifting. I even wore my
Nice.
NASA T-shirt in honor of it. So, and I'm a space guy. I mean, I'm like since the '70s, I've been fascinated by space, and I think it's totally. People always say like, "Oh, we're spending too much money on that crap when we could be spending money doing other crap." We're like, well, sure, but we could also be spending less money on war. And
Yeah.
so don't give me that. Like, I'd rather explore space than go to war with Afghanistan. So anyway,
Amen to that.
yep, that's my take. That's
Cool. I did actually click on the links that you sent me, and I did watch it going up into the sky for about
beautiful.
like 30 seconds. Yeah, so that I was like, oh, that's cool. But I was also hosting another watch party of a protest that was happening.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
to. That's okay. That's okay. It's totally not a big deal. So then that's a good segue then into talking about like the protests and the riots and stuff. So I'm sure that we've all seen like the riots in Minneapolis. Davey and I are both from Iowa. I claim Iowa as my home state, although it was the fourth state that I lived in. So I consider that where I grew up. And so I say that I'm from Iowa. But anyway, so Davey is just outside of Cedar Rapids in Marion. And I used to live in a small town called West Branch, which is the birthplace of Herbert Hoover.
Hoover. The godfather
and,
of the
I know, poor guy. So, I was watching. I also used to live in Minneapolis as well, so I've really been tuned into the Minneapolis protests and stuff like that. And I've been watching several of my friends doing their live streams, like right there in the thick of it. Shout out to Carter Burns and shout out to my friend Nickelodeon, who goes by Neek Rocks.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Neek is spelled like unique without the U. And he's a longtime friend of mine. So I've been watching those two guys, Carter and Nickelodeon, and they both live right there, and they're right there in the thick of it, and they're showing live streams often. So I've really been tuned into that, and it's become a little bit obsessive. So today I took a break from Minneapolis, though, and I watched a protest march. It was just a peaceful march in Des Moines this afternoon, and there were roughly maybe 1,000 people, several hundred people, maybe getting close to 1,000 people. Yeah, I posted it. And then, so here's the cool bit. Okay. So everybody was walking, pretty together. It was very together, and they were just doing the regular chants, like no justice, no peace, and say his name, George Floyd, and things like that. But then they got to this bridge, and the organizer, the leader of the group, he had his megaphone, and he had everybody in the group stop on the bridge and take a knee. And they had 8 minutes of silence for George on the bridge there. Yeah. And like, I just broke out in tears. Their silence was like so powerful. Mm-hmm. It was, I'm getting goosebumps just telling you all about it. So like, it was just so beautiful and so powerful, and they weren't saying a single word. And the person filming, I think, was from a news station. So they were walking around through the crowd all on their knees and like focusing on their signs and stuff like that. And it was just really sort of like heartwarming. And I did really enjoy that part. So I would love to see
silence speaks volumes.
Yeah, silence does speak volumes. Have you ever seen that picture of, I want to say it's in another country, possibly Israel. I might be wrong. I really don't remember what country it was, but like thousands of people all showed up for a silent protest where they all just stood there with their hands in their pockets in silence. And I think that was really powerful too. I wish I could remember what country it was in.
I'm not
If
sure.
anybody knows, yeah, I don't know. I've seen it several times where they have done that. And then I was invited to go to, so there's a memorial march in Tucson today, happening soon. It's raining right now where we are. We're having a nice little thunderstorm right now, which is just great. I'm so happy to have some rain. Oh
Rain
man, it's been hotter than Hades out here in the desert. So anyway, but I was hello, Rod Roy. That's my old friend Rod saying hello. I see you, buddy. Okay, Tucson Memorial March. Okay, so Ray, of course, so my husband Ray was really concerned about me going because we've been watching all of these riots and all of this destruction and stuff, and he didn't want me to be in the face of danger, and he is my full-time caregiver through and through. And then I talked to another really long-time friend today, my friend Danette, and I asked her opinion. So Ray was kind of pretty anti-going, but he said, well, you've already decided you want to go anyway, so do whatever you want. And I'm like, well, like, I can't really go like with that. I'm going to feel bad, you know? So anyway, I was with a group of friends and neighbors from here in Arivaca, and they were taking a minivan, and I'm sure I would have been safe with these people and stuff like that. But it's the people that you don't know. Who's carrying, who is psycho in the group, who is just going to start opening fire on people, who is going to throw something at the police, and then we all get tear gassed.
Yeah.
You know, like there are people with nefarious intentions.
Oh yeah.
That reflect,
agitators.
And yes, the agitators, and then there's it's always the innocent ones that get hurt the most in those situations. So what do you think of that, Davey?
I agree. I think you could have gone and you could have been perfectly safe, or you could have gone and all hell could have broken loose. So that's a personal choice that you make.
I know it was a really hard choice.
Mm-hmm.
I labored over it for hours.
That you make yourself, and God bless Ray for trying to keep you out of trouble. But like he said, like, well, if you decided you want to go, then go. But no, that's up to you. That's up to the individual. I think as long as you're participating in a peaceful protest, you should be fine. But like you said, you never know who might throw a monkey wrench into the works, So
right, exactly. All it takes is one thrown water bottle.
Yeah.
Like I was watching, there's a gentleman running for, I want to say Congress. I forget what he's running for. He's running for office in South Carolina, Jermaine Johnson, and he's a really cool cat. And Jermaine Johnson.
I know the name. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I share his posts all the time. If I could vote for him,
he's a black fellow.
Yeah, I do. Yes, he is. Yep, I share his posts often. So, if I could vote for him, I would. So today he was at a protest in front of the police station, where whatever city he was in South Carolina, and it was pretty peaceful, the same chants and stuff like that. But you could tell that there was not any leadership or any really organization. Mm-hmm. And the people in the crowd were just sort of standing around, and nobody really seemed to know what they were doing there and stuff. And And so, and then every once in a while they would chant out some stuff, but then that fizzled out pretty quickly. But then somebody threw a dang water bottle. And then there was the lineup of cops at the front, and they were just not in riot gear. They were just like in their normal uniforms and bulletproof vests and stuff, but not like full riot gear, right?
Sure.
And so you see the bottle flying, and it hits them, and then they all scatter. The cops all scatter, and then there was like commotion. I know, stupid. And then there was a commotion up front by the barricade, and then people were knocking down the barricade, and then the people in the crowd all started saying, "Stop, everybody stop what you're doing." And then somebody else threw another water bottle, and then you see one cop go into his walkie on his shoulder, and like 2 seconds later, here comes the riot brigade.
Yeah.
So then all those riot cops come out, and then everything just shifted in a matter of seconds. 2 water bottles thrown, and everything shifted.
Yep.
And so after seeing that, and Joe is a peaceful man. He's a smart, intelligent, peaceful man. He is not involved in any of that at all. But like he was right there in the thick of it. Mm-hmm. And if anything would have went down and he would have gotten hurt, that right there is what made me decide not to go to the one in Tucson tonight.
I was watching
that. I was like, shit.
It's a calculated risk anytime you get involved in any mob, any gang of people, a sporting event, a concert. There's a risk that somebody's going to go fucking bananas and do something really stupid that the rest of us are going to have to pay for. So it's that mob, that herd mentality, So,
right.
And me, I'm a other people don't know any mob, any gang of people, a sporting event,
there. Sorry. Sorry.
So yeah, I'm a hermit. I don't like crowds. I don't like going to music. I don't like going to concerts. I don't like going to any place where there's a crowd of people. I just don't. I freak out. So.
Hold on. I'm saying hi to my sister, Shauna. Hello, darling. I'm saying hello to you. Okay. So, yeah, that's what made me decide not to go because, I do have, I am not young. I'm 50 years old. I've got some disabilities. If shit went down and everybody had to scatter like that, I'm going to be the chick that gets trampled.
Right.
I'm going to be the one that gets shot with bullets because I can't run fast enough to get out of the way of danger.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And I'd be right behind you. I'd probably be under you. We'd probably both get trampled. Yeah, I'm 52. I just don't get into that whole spectacle thing anymore. And it's a young person's game, I think.
But at the same time, I feel like there's still a revolutionary that lives inside of me. There's still that activist that is right up front in the front of my brain right now.
Well, you are doing it responsibly because you're doing it from your home by doing this instead of going out there where your voice isn't going to be heard anyway because you're just going to be one of a million people. But here you can say exactly what you want. You can get your point across, and in a much better, much more safe way. So,
right. So, since we are talking about it, let's talk about the violence that has ensued because that's where there seems to be a lot of controversy about what's okay and what's acceptable and what's not and stuff like that. So, I would like to hear what you think about some of that. without cut. Now, neither one of us are allowed to cut anybody down for the choice that they make. Okay, so there will be none of that because everybody's got their own shit that they're dealing with, and they deal with it in their own way.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? How do you think it could have been maybe handled differently?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Or are you just asking generally to the public?
I'm asking you personally, and anybody that is watching that would like to leave a comment. I'll read your comments out to let all our voices be heard. Oh, here's Faye.
Hi.
Hello. Okay, so let me find a different format.
Like so our box.
There, how's that?
That's better. It's easier.
Yeah. So
hi,
everybody,
David.
this is Faye.
Hello,
this is Faye, the Lone Star Warrior. She is my YGRL teammate and Yang Gang sister, and so she is joining us.
Cool. Oh, she can't.
Oh, yeah, she has a broken headphone. So
no.
I'm having technical issues with this headset. But I think I should be able to handle that eventually.
It looks like a little bit like Princess Leia lost one of her buns.
Well, we discovered that while it's hanging like this, okay, when Zephyr, my 6-year-old, comes over to join me, he can put his head up against me and listen with me. So it's been kind of an interesting thing.
So,
serendipity.
Are you still having trouble sharing screens right now, Annette?
Oh, I'm afraid to even try it, Faye. So if you would like to share,
may I? Yeah, put a screen share on.
Yep, I'll approve it. Put it in.
Sorry, I didn't catch the first part of what you guys were talking about. So maybe I should listen a little bit before I start sharing.
Okay, just
okay.
No, yeah.
So here's what we talked about so far. First, Davey was really interested in and excited about the SpaceX rocket launch today, and that's another piece of history that happened today.
Got my NASA shirt on.
Yep, he even wore his NASA shirt and stuff. So, he told us about that and why that's important to history and stuff like that. So that's cool. And then we were just starting to talk about like the protests and the riots and peaceful protest and how they can shift so quickly, just like one thrown water bottle can, agitate everything. And then we also slightly touched on how there are like provocateurs that are planted in these groups that will start the violence first, and then all hell breaks loose. Yeah, and they agitate the situation. So, how do you feel, Faye? Is there anything going on down in Texas regarding this?
Well, not where I'm living right now. It's very peaceful, relatively. I think people are watching the news occasionally and getting information about this, but we are not protesting here. We are not, we're not making any shows against the police or anything like that right now. So that's happening.
What about in
some of the big cities?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. What about some of the bigger cities like Dallas or Houston or Austin or whatever? What's your nearest big city? Houston?
The closest one to me is Dallas, and I honestly haven't checked in on that. So I should check in soon. But what I thought about, maybe the first thing we should share is this video of the actual death of George Floyd and how the video, a video about his final moments. So would that be a good thing to start with, I think? Maybe?
Sure.
Yeah, let's start with that.
It's hard to watch.
Yep. I think we figured out that I can do this.
It's
I might cry. I've not watched it yet. I've only been looking at still photos.
I cried when I watched it.
Okay, can you see it?
There it is.
All right.
Yep.
And this is going to start at the beginning right here. Here we go. Let me know if you can hear the sound.
I can't hear anything.
No, sounds not on.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. We had a way to do this, right? I have to do it the right way. Last time we were able to do this, like I have to do it this way. Okay, ready? Let me try again. Mm-hmm. Whoops. Okay. All right, and here we go. Are we ready to go? Here we go.
Yep.
The days that followed, public outrage grew.
Whoops. Let me start it at the beginning because I didn't want to. Can you hear the sound now?
On May 25th, 2020, George Floyd, a 46-year-old black man, died after a
Do you
white
have
police
sound now
officer
on this?
holding his knee on Floyd's neck,
Yes.
pinned him to the pavement while he was in handcuffs. In the days that followed, public outrage grew over what some protesters and lawmakers said is another case of police brutality against a black man. The Washington Post reconstructed some of the events surrounding the death of Floyd, using private security footage and audio of EMS calls, as well as cell video. In Minneapolis, the incident occurred on the corner of East 38th Street and Chicago Avenue. A security camera outside the Dragon Walk restaurant at the corner captured an initial police interaction with Floyd. The footage obtained by the Post begins at 7:50 p.m. The camera didn't capture the audio of the encounter. The timestamp on the video is 24 minutes ahead of current time, according to the owner of the restaurant, Rashad West. On the corner, facing Chicago Avenue, is the Cup Foods convenience store. According to Jamar B. Nelson, a spokesman for the owner of Cup Foods, two men, including Floyd, used counterfeit currency to purchase items. The employees noticed the men were still outside of the shop, inside a blue Mercedes SUV, and went to speak with them. Floyd is in the driver's seat. While they're outside of the shop, at 8:01 p.m., the police are called for a report of a forgery, according to the department. Officers from the Minneapolis Police Department arrive at Cup Foods. Two officers walk into the store, and a minute later, leave and cross the street to the blue SUV. An officer goes to the door. Behind the SUV, in a Ford Mercury, a bystander at 8:10 p.m. started filming the exchange between Floyd and the officer. The view is partially obscured, but shows the moments before Floyd is handcuffed. What appears to be a brief struggle occurs before Floyd exits the car. Floyd is handcuffed. Only part of the conversation between Floyd and the officers is captured in the footage. A minute later, an officer seats the handcuffed Floyd against the wall. And a minute after that, stands Floyd up on his feet. The Minneapolis officers then walk Floyd across the street to the sidewalk in front of Cup Foods. In the view from the camera at the restaurant, Floyd appears to be placed against the police car outside the store and falls. Officers pick him back up and put him back against the police car door. Body cam video released by the Minneapolis Park Police begins at 8:14 p.m. when a parks officer responding to a request for assistance from Minneapolis police parks his vehicle in front of Cup Foods. A police officer with a handcuffed Floyd asks him to guard the vehicle across the street. At 8:15 p.m., some interaction on the driver's side of the cruiser occurs between the police and Floyd before Floyd can be seen on the ground. The vantage point does not have a clear view of the sequence of events. However, a second later, Floyd's head appears above the police car before he moves out of the frame. At 8:17 p.m., the third squad car arrives. Two officers exit the vehicle. Bystanders identify them by their name and badge numbers as Officer Tho Tao and Derek Chauvin. Their identities were later confirmed by the police department. Tao and Chauvin walked over to the other officers already outside the store with Floyd. At 8:18 p.m., there appears to be a struggle on the passenger side of the vehicle that lasts for at least a minute. At this vantage point, we cannot see who was involved. A criminal complaint later filed against one of the officers alleges Floyd refused to enter the car, even after officers moved him from the driver's side to the passenger side. Movement stopped around 8:20 p.m. This video was filmed around the same time, near the Speedway gas station across the street from Cup Foods. The video appears to show one officer kneeling on Floyd's neck, while 2 other officers crouch nearby. At 8:20 p.m., bystander Darnella Frazier, who is standing near the entrance of Cup Foods, begins to film. In Frazier's video, we can see Floyd pinned face down by the knee of the officer, later confirmed by the department as Chauvin. At 8:22 p.m., 2 minutes after Frazier started filming, officers called for an ambulance. The dispatcher called for an ambulance to the location citing a code 2.
Calling to Minneapolis, 3759 Chicago Avenue, code 2 for medical.
At 8:23 p.m., the urgency of the response was escalated, according to EMS recordings.
412, we're good to go 3.
Okay.
Floyd remained pinned on the ground. At 8:25 p.m., nearly 5 minutes after Frazier started filming, onlookers confronted the officers about Floyd's condition. It appeared he was not conscious.
No, bro, look at him. He's not responsive right now, bro.
Across the street, the park police officer speaks to a passenger who was in the vehicle with Floyd.
Let's stay put here. All right, tell my friends and them done over there. They can figure things out. All right. Right now, we're grabbing an ambulance for your buddy.
At 8:27 p.m., a Hennepin Healthcare ambulance arrives. Shortly afterwards, a young relative of the store owner walks out of Cup Foods. In Frazier's video, an onlooker reacts to the young man.
He's not.
I see that.
Bro,
I'm trying to help y'all out.
Bro, you don't need to help me out, bro. I know your parents. I know everybody that owns the store. You don't need to help me out, bro. I'm moving right now.
The young man tries to intervene and stop the police, but is pushed by Officer Tao. Officer Chauvin lifts his knee from Floyd's neck around 8:28 p.m. after 8 minutes and 46 seconds, according to a criminal complaint filed against the officer. Floyd was placed on a stretcher around 8:29 p.m. At the same time, the fire department was called.
12, fire 3, please.
412 copy, adding fire code 3.
Frazier's video shows the Hennepin ambulance leaving the scene at 8:30 p.m. According to a May 26 report from the fire department, 2 crew members of a fire department ambulance boarded the Hennepin ambulance at 36th Street and Park Avenue. Inside the report says, medics are working on unresponsive, pulseless male. The incident report states that Floyd died at 9:25 p.m. at the Hennepin Healthcare Emergency Room.
What can we say after that?
Yeah, well, I think anybody watching that video would feel like, this was a completely unnecessary death. I mean, when you talk about, oh, he did some sort of crime or something, we don't even know that he was trying to commit any kind of fraud, because anybody could have a fraudulent bill in your hand and try to buy something with it.
And even if he did, that does not rate that aggression.
Killing him.
Yeah, that does not.
Yes.
Even if he did that crime that he was charged with, he wasn't even charged with. But like, yeah, there's no.
There's just no reason for anybody to hold somebody down long enough for them to not be able to breathe.
Especially when they're already cuffed and on the ground. Like, what are you gonna do? What's the man gonna do? He's cuffed. He's on the ground.
Right. And then he was unconscious. And then they said pulseless, but they didn't declare him dead. So I think when he died on the scene, personally, I think he was already dead when he went into the ambulance.
Yeah, 9
And,
minutes kneeling on your neck, your carotid artery, your jugular, and your windpipe. That'll kill you. Period. Like everybody knows that. Just we basically watched that man die for no reason.
And when people walked up to the police officers and they said, hey,
Back.
we see you doing this.
Yeah.
We see you. Can you stop? Stop. The response was, nope, we're not going to we're not going to respond to you, and you need to back off, and we're just going to do whatever we want right in front of you.
And push him back. Even that the owner that the son of the owner of that shop was like, he's motionless. He's obviously something's wrong. Like, no, we got it.
And he even had the Asian officer pushed that boy, like even like there was no reason for him to touch him.
Right.
You didn't have to touch him, and like, it's just, it's so obvious. It's so freaking obvious. So I wanted to mention though that Tom Kelly, I grew up with a friend named Tom Kelly, so I hate that this attorney has that name. But anyway, that attorney was the attorney that got the officer that shot and killed Philando Castile, also in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
He's the one that got that cop off. Okay, so nothing happened to that cop that killed Philando Castile. I don't know if he was fired or not. If anybody watching this knows whether that officer that killed Philando Castile was fired, I would love to.
Mentioned him a couple times today on the broadcast, and then in fact, didn't his father came out and spoke during the governor's announcement today?
Now see, I've not watched that. I haven't had a chance to watch that yet. No,
I posted it on my line, the whole live, and there had a bunch of a rabbi, imam, priests. Everybody came out and said, "Please go home tonight. Don't be on the streets after 8 p.m." But I think his father, Castile's father, was one of them that came out and spoke.
Well, I know that a couple of people, I think it must have been the day after the event, when Al Sharpton, the Reverend Al Sharpton came and spoke, and then Eric Garner's parents were there.
Yeah.
And that was gut-wrenching.
We thought we'd seen it all with that. We thought, okay, that's the end. And I still think about Eric Garner, and same thing. It's like, you're killing that boy. You're killing that boy. Stop it.
Yeah.
Eric Gardner, now, that happened a while back, wasn't it? That was way back.
4 years ago.
Yeah, I know it's been a few years now.
He's the one that the New York City police busted for selling loose cigarettes. All he was doing was selling loosies outside of that convenience store. And that one little shrimp cop jumped up on his back. Eric Garner was a huge dude. He's a big dude. And that cop got up on his back and pulled him down and just choked the bleep. and same thing. That's what started the whole "I Can't Breathe" movement. That was one of the things that Eric Garner, his last words were, "I can't breathe."
So there actually are protests all over the country. I kind of assumed there would be something in Dallas, and I would like to go ahead and share a little video of what's going on in Dallas right now, okay? I'm going to try to do that. Let me see if I can get it done. Okay, and here we go.
Okay.
Oh, there's the death of Eric Garner.
Yep.
As I was looking at. Okay, and this is what's happening in Dallas according to WFAA, which is ABC News. All right. And you can
Images
see
here from last night. You can see looters breaking the glass of a McDonald's in downtown Dallas, and another image here of people breaking into the Traffic LA store. And this one, many pictures of officers from the Dallas Police Department patrolling the streets late last night in full protective gear. Early in the day, hundreds of protesters gathered in Dallas and Fort Worth in response to the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, both Black Americans killed by police officers. Our Teresa Woodard shares some of the emotion and anger that filled the streets earlier in the day.
Saturday morning's earliest hours dawned with chaos, and Friday night's final hours ended in anger. But before that violence, there was peace. Texas is not Minnesota.
It's a problem.
Dallas is not Minneapolis.
At the end of the day, what we saw was murder.
But it happened in America.
That is no way in the hell that you put your on someone's neck and think that they are going to be able to breathe.
It happened to an American, and they feel like it happened to them.
They're killing us for no reason. No reason.
These are not just cries of justice for George Floyd.
Don't you dare sit there and let African American male or female die because of these cops.
People with their skin color are being killed. You know, he's 3. I'm going to tell him that today. You know, it's not right.
They are afraid of the people who are supposed to protect them.
I feel like I'm supposed to feel safe, but now that all this is happening, I'm like scared.
It just messed up.
Fighting for justice is the American way, but a night of violence.
We will not be the target of violence.
A morning of rage isn't.
We should have never got here. We should have never got here. We should have never let them divide us up like this.
In Dallas. I'm Teresa Woodard.
You know, the nonprofit Next Generation Action Network organized this rally and march outside of Dallas Police Headquarters yesterday. The protest was peaceful throughout the first several hours, but later things escalated downtown. That was the story across the country. Now let's get to our Hannah Davis. Hannah, you know, I woke up this morning to see so many videos on social media of looting, anger, emotion, and now things have kind of cleared out. Are some of the business owners coming to see what happened?
Yeah, good morning, Cleo. And that's really tough. I've been talking to business owners this morning who are coming here to see what their businesses look like, to see if they can even open today. Take a look at this right here. This is Punch Bowl Social. This is a really popular bar, restaurant. People come out here. When I got here this morning, this tarp wasn't up. I mean, this window's completely smashed out, so people can get inside. Now, I talked to the regional director out here. She was the one helping clean up. She says that they have not been open because of the shutdown. But she says this is the last thing she wanted to see. It's really difficult as they really try to get on their feet. I want to take a look at the protest last night and kind of how we got here. Here's video when it first started yesterday around 6:30. We saw 600 to 1,000 people gathered. They marched for hours, mostly peaceful, from 6:30 to 9:30. Really no incidents. But then at 9:30, when it started to get dark, that's when we started to see things get out of control. And really, we started to see that violence. Take a look at this. 35, the roadway shut down, protesters blocking that, some of them going up to cars, drivers trying to get out of there. Really tense situations. This is what police did not want to see happen. Downtown, a lot of the damage was there in addition to Deep Valley. Neiman Marcus, the storefront shattered out. I saw reports from Chris Sotigay showing different stores that were targeted. And then also downtown, this is where police were really congregating. And this is when it started to get tense. There was tear gas thrown, canister after canister. Police cars were being targeted. Bricks were being thrown. Tires being slashed. Chief Renee Hall, the Dallas police chief, even went down there herself. She actually got out of the car at one point to try to talk to protesters. She said, for the most part through the night, she was happy with the way things were going. It was peaceful. And then at some point that changed. Take a listen.
All of a sudden, there were bricks being thrown at officers, bottles of water. As you can see, one of the scout cars took a brick. There was an opportunity for us to pull back, and we did so. I actually personally got out of the car and made sure to pull the officers back as I was trying to quell the situation and pull our officers back. A brick came over and almost hit me. And at that point, they flattened the tire of my SUV as well as one of our SWAT trucks, and then bottles of water started to come. And so at that point in time, we had to disperse the crowd because it became unruly.
Cleo, that was around 9:30 or 10. I was watching it live last night, and you saw the situation start to turn like Chantel's describing. This morning, we see the aftermath. Talking to the business owners, the employees that may not be able to go to work because businesses are shut down. Meanwhile, there's still so much pain. It is so raw for so many of these protesters. There's more protests scheduled for today. They're not done making their voices heard. And we're also hearing from the small business owners, really trying to get a picture of everything that's going on this morning. So many people impacted with really legitimate points of view. It's tough to wrap your mind around. Back to you.
Hannah, you just said that there are protests planned for today. Any idea on what time that might start? Because, yesterday it did start off peaceful and things got out of control like it did across the country.
Yes, and we saw that in different cities where it started peacefully. We're hearing it's supposed to be the afternoon, is what I'm kind of hearing from different organizers. Around 1:30 was one time that I heard. At one point, to what you were saying, Cleo, yesterday from 6:30 to 9:30, we really did 600 to 1,000 people walking peacefully, making their voices heard. And it was when the sun went down, when it started to get dark, when we started to see things really taking that turn. So protests scheduled during the day today. I don't know if that's going to change the tone we're going to see. We'll just have to wait and see. But afternoon is what I'm hearing right now.
Hannah, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We got you back here at 9 o'clock. We'll see you again soon. These images here from last.
Okay. All right. So before we go on, I would like to welcome Ronnie from Read My Lips on YouTube.
Hi, Ronnie.
How's it going?
And this is my first time actually speaking to Ronnie, and you're probably too humble for this, but I'm ever so slightly starstruck right now because I've been following your page. I've been following your YouTube channel for a very long time. And I tend to agree with just about everything you ever say. And so I'm really excited that you're here.
I appreciate you. I mean, time is something we can't get back, and anybody taking time out of their day just to listen to what little old me has to say, I can't even put into words how much I appreciate you. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to follow you now.
Yes, please do. Read My Lips on YouTube.
All right, so then I'm going to introduce you to these folks. So this is David. He's one of my very dear friends from, we decided we've been friends for going on 20 years now. And then that is Faye, the Lone Star Warrior, and she and I both work together on the Yang Gang Report team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Are there two Fays?
There are, but the other one is I'm the other Faye, and then there's the other Faye over there. That's Faye Doney you're talking about. But I did meet you at the at the Yang Gang round table.
The Yang Gang round table. Yep. So we had a discussion yesterday, literally yesterday. Yep.
Yeah,
nice to meet
a good
you
one. But amazing how much has happened since yesterday.
Yeah.
So much has happened since yesterday, and we are talking about what's happening with all these George Floyd protests. And another young lady was mentioned just now. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about. Do you know about Breonna Taylor, or Breonna? How do you say it?
Breonna Taylor. Yeah, she was killed. She was killed in her own home, and literally is just an innocent victim in a screw up by the police. And I don't want to say her situation has been brushed under the rug, but it definitely hasn't gotten the media attention. I think it.
Yeah, I've never heard it, and that to me, that's disturbing. That how can that get brushed under the rug?
Right.
So I think if that's the one where they did a no-knock raid, and then saying that they had a warrant for someone that wasn't there and was already in police custody. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep. And I believe it was, I don't know if it was her husband or her boyfriend. I believe it was her boyfriend, is in custody right now because of the interaction. I believe he shot at officers. I'm pretty sure, or something. There was a shootout. But he had no idea. He thought he was being robbed. He thought people were breaking in to do whatever, and was just simply defending his own home. And he's in custody still to this day, I believe. And she's deceased. It's horrible.
It is absolutely heartbreaking.
This shit's gotta fucking stop. Sorry for the language, but
No, you're right. You're right. And people are angry right now. And I always keep saying what was happening was people were peacefully protesting, people were kneeling, and that got so much hate, and people were so angry about just simply quietly kneeling, and it wasn't working. So now we've gone to the complete opposite side of things, and people are angry and they're showing their anger. What more did they want them to
Ronnie, I wanted to go ahead and play this little bit of it's like 43 seconds of a video here.
Went in her house in the comfort of her own home and just took her from us. She's gone. She's never coming back. She was a good girl. She just did not deserve what she went through. She loved everybody, and she is the reason why we all here. She was the glue that brought everybody together. She was the baby of the family, and for us to just have to find that strength to move on without her is just going to be so hard. We not letting up. And we gonna get justice for our baby.
well, she was in uniform. Was she a police officer?
Today I'm going to show you the.
I believe she ended up being a nurse, right?
Oh, I think it was an EMT. I don't know.
EMT uniform.
She helped save people's lives. I know that much.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
It doesn't matter either way, except for the fact that.
Yeah, it's that. So my question to you guys is, what do you think is going to come of this? I was talking to my mother, and I mean, she was very sad about, the state of affairs and things that's happening and the pot boiling over. And she goes, I've seen this playbook many, many times in her lifetime already. She feels like she's seen this already before. And she's like, who's going to be the next George Floyd? When is this going to happen again?
Yeah.
And repeat. So I'm just wondering, what do we do to change the situations that are happening, that are leading to these eruptions?
I don't know what we can do, man. I don't know what we can do. We can reach out. We can talk. We can, we can cross, obviously, racial barriers, sexual barriers, all that stuff. But aside from that, I don't know what we can do. Man.
So I actually have an idea. I'm trying to trend this hashtag. Okay, the hashtag is Nerf the government. Okay, Nerf, like Nerf. Like the stuff you give for kids so you don't hurt them while they're playing. Like you don't want them to actually hit each other with real bats, so you give them the Nerf bat, right? And so, this is what I think we need to do for the government is we need to stop authorizing the government to do violence to our own people. So we don't buy them tools. When they open up their toolkit, they start out with okay, we're going to go with the riot gear so we protect ourselves, and then we're going to bring pepper spray. And then after the pepper spray, we're going to get the fire hose. And then after the fire hose, we get the rubber bullets. And then it's like they have a whole list of things that they can do, but they start out, they're all weapons. There's not a single tool in that toolkit that starts with peace. How about we go out and listen to the people? So this is my idea. We repurpose the policemen, okay? We send them out with new tools. So we buy them these taco trucks, okay? And when a protest starts, they come out with the taco trucks with all the with water and food for the people. So first we feed people so they're calm. Nobody's hangry outside.
Like an ice cream truck.
Right. Yes. Like bring your carnival events, okay, and bring the food. Then, second of all, you give them a bunch of cheerleaders with megaphones. All right, people you're not going to want to attack because they're cute and they come out with their skirts and they bring the megaphones and they say, okay, what do you want us to chant? And we will chant whatever you want. We're going to make your voice louder. We will amplify your voices. Okay, and then my third idea is you bring a bunch of pencil pushers. Okay, administrators. They come out with their pencils and their clipboards, all right? And they just go through the crowd. They say, what is it that you want? Okay, what is the problem? What are your feelings? What kind of feelings are you having? We write them all down. And then when we get back to the office, we're going to organize all this information, right? How many people said they need the police to do better with this particular aspect? How many people came up with a solution? Okay, and then who do we give it to? Do we give it to the police chief? Do we need to go talk to the governor of the state? Do we need to go up to the federal level? Who do we talk to? I mean, who is the one in charge of that?
You got to follow the chain of command. You got to go to the police chief, then the mayor, and then maybe the senator that's responsible for your area.
You might need a legislator.
Yeah, follow the chain of command. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, so chain of command, you know.
Right.
You gotta,
so they have to pass it up, this chain. But the problem is the people are angry, right? They got feelings.
Yeah.
They got nowhere to put it because there's nobody listening. Nobody is charged with the task of listening and making sure that these complaints are taken care of. So they just go out in the street and they're trying to organize, and then the police come and they push them. So
push and arrest them. CNN,
Right.
CNN reporters literally just got arrested yesterday for just doing their job. Arrested and taken away in cuffs.
Yeah. Didn't the CNN building got attacked, right?
And the CNN building got attacked too. We need people
And
in
then
there.
I saw another bit where the reporter and the camera person, were getting rubber bullets fired at them, and they were like way far away from everything, just reporting on what was happening. They were not anywhere near anyone, and it was a woman and the camera person.
Yep, I saw that.
And you could see the cop. Did you see that one? And
I
then
did.
like right at them. Oh my God.
The cameramen were like, well, maybe are they really aiming at us? Maybe it was a mistake. No, they were specifically aiming at them and shooting rubber bullets at them. And they are the press. They have freedom of the press, and it is their right and their job and their responsibility to record these things, to put in the chronicles of history that we're going to have. They're shooting at them and arresting them.
You got the orange clown up there. You got the orange clown up there in the White House being like, the press is the enemy of the people.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's unprecedented. I don't think any president said anything even remotely close to that. The press is the enemy of the people. That's pretty big what you said.
And then he keeps comparing himself to Abraham Lincoln, and just shut, dude.
So I Googled today an anti-Trump but Republican, okay, a Republican base but anti-Trump super PAC, and they call themselves the Lincoln Project.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. I've seen them. Yep.
Very interesting.
So
they have
a
lot of videos out there, and
that's a big, really brave and bold stance to take, because Trump has like a 90% approval rating as far as Republicans go. So to be on that other side, to be on the other end of that, and to buck against him as a Republican, it takes a lot. I
think a lot of Republicans are moving away. I think he's going down in the Republic. True Republican support is dropping for that man.
The last time I checked, which was like last month, it was like 90%. Now a lot has transpired since then.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit lower now. I think you're closer to like 40%. He's gone way down. Yeah.
So how much time do you guys have?
Not basic approval rating in the Republican base.
Yeah. The Republican base is dropping.
40%. That's a huge drop.
I think don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but I think it's gone way, way down.
Mm-hmm.
How much time do you guys have? You have like a 20-minute. Can you listen to somebody's story who was actually pepper sprayed for 4.5 hours? She was getting pepper spray and had to endure that in order to do her protest. This happened in Indiana, and we talked to her earlier today. I'd love for everybody. I just need more eyeballs on this and more people to hear her voice. Would you be willing to listen to that for a bit?
Sure. Let me hear.
Okay,
Yeah, let's
because
hear it. Maybe
it was
20
incredible,
minutes.
and I am just like I'm blown away. So
I
she
ain't
literally.
doing nothing.
I'm sorry. What did you say, David?
I said I ain't doing nothing.
Oh, all right. Well, the thing is, she came from the protests after having been pepper sprayed for 4.5 hours. And you know that affects your voice. You can hear it in her voice. She came right out of this and started podcasting with us. So I'm going to get that on and share the screen for you. Here we go.
That's crazy. We got gassed in boot camp with pepper spray just to experience.
Just to see what it would be like. Yeah, and
yeah,
how
you come out with just strings of snot. You can't touch your face. But I'll shut up.
it's all right. Okay, so this was the Yang Gang Roundtable. So Shale does a really. Here we go.
We have some of our regular speakers here, and as well as my friend Erin Fogg, who was in a protest in Fort Wayne, Indiana last night, and she was assaulted and tear gassed and battered and pursued by police. And she's going to tell us about that experience, and I'm sure it's just nothing less than harrowing. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a civically engaged person with the courage to go stand up to authority for the rights of everyone in this room. So thank you.
I'm especially glad to be here today. There were quite a few moments last night where I really wasn't sure. So kind of a little bit of backstory is I'm not from Indiana. I live in Indiana. And I'm running for a county council at large. The county has about 350,000 people. We have a county budget of $112 million. 70% of that goes to the sheriff's department and incarceration. So I ran for the office, I started in February, specifically to push a prison abolition platform, to defund the sheriff, which is kind of the only, we can't touch Fort Wayne Police. We can control the sheriff in the county jail. So I've been on this prison abolition tip for a minute. So the protests, I don't know, everyone kind of sensed it wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be fun. It was probably going to be a long night. The Friday, most of us have been quarantined and good about it for months. This is the first time I saw people in 3 months. And the first time I saw people in 3 months, it was freezing all over every one of them. It was awful. And the weather was nice. So we don't usually have very big protest turnout. I've run a couple abortion or you can get 20 people in your setting. That's a really good turnout. There's a very low threshold for any sort of radicalization. Running as an open socialist is.
Annette? I don't know how we can do this, but there's kind of an echo from your screen because I'm sharing. It's kind of weird.
Hold on. Let's see if I can mute myself.
I couldn't see the video itself.
I get to the protest at about 6. And that's about an hour. There were hundreds of people there. There were hundreds and hundreds of people there, young and old, and black and brown. And it was the most beautiful thing I've seen in my life. And everyone was together, walking. It was so peaceful. There's about it's a 3-lane wide one-way street. And the county courthouse was like the town square. It's surrounded by wide one-way streets. And we traditionally protest at the courthouse, take to the street sometimes, people laugh. We wanted to talk to the Martin Luther King Day from the courthouse. And that necessitated, it was necessary to do it in the street, block off traffic. And there weren't any cops. So at that time, I couldn't find any of my people. At that time, we were all it was it was busy and everyone was just kind of naturally find your role in a group. The communication, you do it silently when a group is working with a single person. And at that time, I was watching traffic and keeping the cars off of marchers because there weren't any cops. We just had to rely on traffic lights and brute force to be successful in the street. I got hit by two cars. I mean, they deliberately made contact with my body with their vehicles because they wanted to move their cars through protesters. The slightest amount of inconvenience for so many of these people made them rage like it was so scary. And it was so beautiful. You know what I mean? People moved to a club. There were two semis that were like stuck in traffic. The UPS ones. I love UPS. It's really good government. And some big yellow semis. Some teenage kids like climbed up on it. There were some white anarchists who were doing some skateboard tricks underneath the semis. I'm sure people saw some video. It was cool. It was dumb as hell. And then a group of like kids were sitting on the yellow semi. The driver of the semi gave them a permission too. Cool with it. There was a dude on one of the other streets that was about with the cross street sitting on his car smoking a joint.
I couldn't understand a lot of what.
Faye, is there any way you can send that specific clip to me so I can talk about it? I can't hear Faye.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yes.
So I don't want to keep sharing if it's going to echo the whole time. So probably is.
We're still echoing right now.
Echoing right now as well. Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on?
I don't know, but I can't mute my end because then nobody can hear anything. If I am muted, then everything
I'm gonna
is muted.
mute.
So.
You let me know if it's from me. I'm gonna mute.
I'm gonna.
Okay. Is it better now? I can still hear the echo. I think it's coming from a net sound setup for some reason. Maybe David. Okay, let's try.
I'm gonna mute too.
Okay. Oh, that's better. It's a little better. Okay, let's try some more. Let's try a little bit more.
Let me say something. Okay, I'm not echoing now either. Well, okay. Look, are we going to try it again then with the mute?
15 minutes, yell at them back and just have a conversation. It was creeping. So they're trying to keep these cars off, moving cars, and getting people through. Like, we were policing ourselves, policing the city, and we were being successful. And the police came out in riot gear. They all came out really fast, out of nowhere, and they didn't say a word. They didn't tell us anything. There was no loudspeaker. There was no warning. There was no order given. They just started macing people. They maced children who were just there. It's a nice part of town. People like that. It should be safe for you to be there with your family. And we were making it safe for people to be there with their family. And they came out and they just started. So at that point, we're talking about a territory that's 1 city block long, plus 2 intersections. At that time, we were all fully in the intersection. The cops were on the far end of it on that crossing. They sprayed and they lined up. They got their batons out. And they started marching on us. They would take a step, move, step, move, move. And I was on the front line for a lot of it. Because there were a lot of black people there. Cops anyway. And there were a lot of white people who put their bodies consistently. They hate that. They specifically targeted those. So we're at the top of the intersection. Cops are lined up. Comms are out. They're marching on us. We're standing just far away. And not like we played the I'm not touching you game for about maybe a fifth of the walk. Like slow little steps. Like we weren't touching them. We didn't want them to touch us. We weren't insisting, but we needed to be in that street. So about a third of the way down, they kind of stopped. They're moving around in the background. And at that point, we were on our knees with our hands up. We're asking them to arrest us. They're not hurt anybody, but if you're hurting, if we're breaking the law so bad, just arrest us already. And that's when they started shooting tear gas canisters at us. They shot them at our bodies. They were aiming for our bodies. Over it. This was about 6:30 when they started gassing us, and they did it until I left at 11, and they gassed us the whole time. So, ceded ground, there were a lot of people on the green at that point. And traditionally, when we protest here, the green is a safe zone. It means you're not there to cause trouble. You're just there to be with your community. Like, and they started firing on the people at the green. And they were firing on the people in the street. And I didn't know where they wanted us to go. I mean, I knew they wanted us to go home. They wanted us to just say, okay, you win. We'll do what you say, and we'll go home. But you can't reward them. You can't let them do it. Because we've seen every day for how long now what they'll do.
You see where they're kneeling.
The next few hours, take the entire street, bring in the Bearcats, bring in the shotgun squad, to bring in the extra city cops in riot gear, to bring in the county SWAT team. They had 2 militarized armored trucks, snipers on top. And we knew, we were fucking with them, like, we were dunking on them, we were. Because it's opera, like it's theater. They're trying to scare us. They want us to believe that they will shoot us, okay?
Zephyr, do you want to see what's happening? Zephyr, come on.
Hello?
I'm bringing Zephyr in to see what's happening on this video while you're talking.
Oh, okay.
He's 6 years old. Like the other kids that came.
Yeah, okay. It took probably, I don't know, an hour or so maybe for them to claim the whole block in front of the green. On the corner, there's this bougie little artisan farm to whatever, the Hoppy Gnome. It's a micro gas. I don't know what it is. I can't afford to eat there. But it was packed and people were sitting out eating their food. I know that because I saw them when I ran around the corner to run away from being dead.
Okay, you see the gas.
I can't directly around the corner. I can't see a line across from where I am to this home in Florida. I can't see this. I'm feeling this. And then he just kept harassing the people in the restaurant. And they just kept watching. And they kept watching us pour water. And they watched us through the windows. They live streamed it. They didn't try to help. So at this point, the cops have pretty well gotten most of us to both intersections. We really couldn't tell what was going on at the other end. Smoke. Some of the protesters had rainbow smoke. That was cool for like a couple of minutes until they started. And she fell and they hit fire. And then it was still light. He'd already filled the soda bottle yet. The bottles, they started filling them. But we had ours pushed over onto the far corner of this on Clinton or Berry. I'm bad with geography. It's not great. And I think we need to be fairly tactical about your position. They had us down there. And water bottles, and it would escalate. It escalated over the next hour or so. There was some glass. There was like, I think it was a, what is this milk? Gallons and half gallons. Quarts, it was the skinny milk that got thrown at us.
Can't understand a word.
Yeah, towards the end it was difficult, especially. All right, so I put the link there in case we want to share it with anybody in the future. But
No. I mean, yeah, I just couldn't understand a word she was saying.
yeah,
I'm just gonna.
we don't have a good sound setup right now to do this kind of sound sharing.
Yeah, and that's not your. Yeah, obviously, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I couldn't understand a word. I still to this day don't know what happened. What actually happened?
Okay, so basically the gist of what she was saying, because I still hear a lot of echoing. I'm not sure if anyone can hear us, actually.
Somebody has a background thing going on. Beep, beep,
Yes.
beep, flip, beep.
Yeah, I hear the
I
echoing.
think
Yeah.
we should probably continue to mute when we're not talking. Okay, thank you, David. Yeah, so basically she was saying that everybody was very peaceful, that they had a plan. The plan was to occupy an area where they would have to stop the traffic in order to get from like one Martin Luther King area to another, to the big city building, which you could see in the background. And they were there and they saw the police come, and you saw how they set up. They set up in a line, and they were wearing all of their gear. They had pepper spray in their hands, so that's what they were prepared to do.
Was this in the George Floyd issue?
Yes, this happened just yesterday, and it happened in Indiana, in a town called Fort Wayne.
It's not coming from me, so I'm not going to mute my stuff because that noise isn't coming from me.
Okay.
But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
I think
Sorry, I'm not trying-
it's better when we do mute. The reason I'm not muting is I'm actually using this button to mute myself, and I also have a headset. So
Mel says that Ron's mic is lagging.
The what?
One of the comments, Nell Nieves says, I probably butchered his name, that your mic is lagging, Ronnie.
Yeah, blame Ronnie.
it can't be Ronnie because Ronnie's muted and he wasn't talking.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what changed.
Okay, I'm gonna mute again. I'll mute mine. Mute.
Okay, it works better when Davey's muted.
I think it's working better that way, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't talk. It just means when you talk, you unmute yourself. Yeah, well, we don't have to go to those extent. To that extent, we don't have to use sign language. So I just keep pushing this button when I'm not talking, and so that's how I do mine. Anyway, yeah. So she was basically saying that there was a reason why they had to occupy that space. And it was the plan to do that. And it did stop traffic. And so the police came to push them back. But really what happened in terms of how the violence started was that the police started doing something violent to the people. You know, they were spraying the people who had not provocated. What they had done was they kneeled on the ground, explaining that they would rather be arrested than to give up that space. So those people said, we are not leaving. We're going to kneel down here. And if you want to arrest us, do it. Go ahead.
So look at that. Already again, they want to peacefully protest. All they want to do is kneel. All comes back around to kneeling. And again, it's a problem. It's almost like they want them to just shut up and exist and take it. No matter what they do, it seems to always be an issue. There's no winning. If they're destroying stuff and breaking into stuff and looting and rioting, look at these people. How can these people destroy that? Look what they do in their own community. No sense. Okay, well, let's peacefully kneel and protest. No, we can't have that. Let's tear gas all of them. It's insanity. This is insanity. I mean,
remember that ABC little clip? I don't know if you saw that clip earlier. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just quoting it back. Yeah. What are we gonna do? Let's fire Kaepernick for kneeling, taking a knee. You know, like what is wrong with that? The man doesn't want to stand. This is a free country. You want to sit down? You want to stand up? That's your choice as a citizen of this country. And if you want to make a protest, of anything, and you're doing it peacefully and you're not messing with anybody, then you got that right. That is your right. So
people were literally doing mental gymnastics to literally coming up with any excuse they can. I don't want to see that during my sporting event, because your sporting event is more important than unarmed black men dying, right? Why is he doing that now? He's doing it now because he knows there's millions of eyes that watch this thing, and it will help his message be spread. But they can't. He's disrespecting the flag. The flag is what gives him the ability to do what he's doing. No, he's not disrespecting the flag. He's utilizing it. He's doing exactly what the flag is there for. You just want him to operate in the way that you
you're disrespecting veterans. I'm a veteran, and I served in the Marine Corps, so that man or any man or woman can sit down, stand up, kneel, pray, do whatever the hell they want. I served for that. I didn't serve to protect NFL football owners and Donald Trump. I served for us, so you can do that, and that's
people are threatened. People are threatened if you participate in this. If you kneel as well, you will lose your job. And don't you try to do things like that? You know?
No. Yeah, no, that's not. No, you got that right. You have that right. And like I said, I served to protect that right.
May I introduce Dr. Quintus LaCure?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Cure has arrived. How's it going, man?
Yeah, good.
Have you met each other yet?
No, we haven't.
All right.
No.
Let's see. What should we say? Dr. Quintus, you are an operations professor. Would that be correct? Or
Strategy, organization, especially under conditions of uncertainty.
okay, and Read My Lips here is our friend Ronnie from his is Read My Lips your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I created a YouTube channel called Read My Lips, I want to say about a year ago. And it kind of picked up in popularity. It's mostly gang-based now, but I just cover news and politics and what's going on in the world today.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
And David, I believe, is a good friend of Annette's for probably 20-something years, something like that.
Hello, Quintus.
And we've been watching these videos. It was a little difficult with the sound issues, but we started with a video of George Floyd and how his death happened right in front of us. And then we looked at a video of some, protests that were going on in Dallas. Now, that's the one I wanted to go back to, is that if you look at this video that was produced by ABC, a big news media, their outlets, when they produce the news, they show you a few clips of all the things you expect to see. And the clips don't give you any story. The stories are terrible. The same story gets repeated over and over. The rioters are dangerous because they smash up windows, and then that's why the police have to come out and stop them. It's the same story they tell every time. They don't give any solutions. They don't give any ideas about, how to take that message and make it more important. Like, why are the people angry? Maybe we should listen to them. So, I feel like the thing that we were able to do, just hearing from one person at a time, somebody who was actually there, we did that at the Yang Gang Roundtable. I thought that was a lot more, like you could actually understand if we could hear her. So go to that video and watch it. But you can really actually understand how things played out and how the violence started. So there was violence after this event, but you can see at the beginning there was none. And she said as soon as the people were dispersed and pushed out into the city, that's when you start calling this a riot. Before that, it was a protest. And it was well organized, and it was quiet and peaceful, and even children were invited. But as soon as the tear gas came out, and now you're forcing people to spread out into the city and hide, and just, now they've got their anger nowhere to put it, and that's when you're going to get broken windows and broken things, because what do you do with that anger after you've been attacked?
Right. I agree 100%. And yeah, there's a narrative. They usually have a narrative when they make their compilations and things like that. This is what we want the public to see. This is what's going on, when it's much deeper than that. And that video that you showed, Faye, just rips the Band-Aid off of the narrative that they're trying to push.
Yeah, Zephyr said he wanted to come see Quintus. So here he is. Pretty soon he'll be friends with you too, Ronnie, if we keep meeting up like this.
Absolutely. I'm all for it.
Oh.
So Ronnie and I met yesterday at the Roundtable podcast on something else that we did. That was our first time meeting, and he's meeting Annette and David for the first time, and Quintus. So what are you thinking, Quintus? What's happening in Los Angeles? Because I had heard from some of the San Gabriel Valley people that I'm in contact with that they actually saw people on the freeways smashing cars that were parked there. So I don't know what's really happening, but what's happening for you?
I mean, other than watching some of it on TV, I know that the mayor has a curfew for downtown LA. And East Hollywood, West Hollywood has one as well. And so, I don't know. I guess what I'm mostly thinking about now is like what's going to happen next from this moment that we have, because seeing the murder of George Floyd affected a lot of people across lines, right? So I'm seeing, like, I mean, whether it's like they're white people, like, what, you know? I mean, there are police officers, like, you know, saying, hey, well, that's messed up. This shouldn't be happening. And so now I'm sort of wondering, like, where is this going to go? And I'm starting to be concerned about this being framed only in terms of violence versus nonviolence. I'm not sure if that's really a very productive thing going on, but yeah, I think this is a very tense and uncertain moment right now.
It's like I was saying before. This is
Do you think
anything new? Like, we've seen this before in some different circumstances, and like you said, Quintus, I'm wondering what's going to be the aftermath. Like, okay, we're angry, we're doing the protesting, etc. Now, what's going to stem from this? Is something legislative going to come from it? Like, what's going to happen? Look who's on. My man.
Okay, so I've never met Nell, like in I consider this real life now, so this is IRL for me. So anyway, but Nell and I have been friends on Facebook for a long time, and then I also have followed him on Twitter for a long time, so I am aware of his presence, and I am happy to see your face here. Yay!
Just a reminder
he's been
to mute so we can avoid the echo.
For a little while.
Now it's muted.
Mute. Davey, you're the echo.
I am.
Yep.
I hear
you're
it
the
when-
echo.
I hear it when I mute them.
Yeah, you can still hear us. You can still hear us right now, right? Yep. Okay. So when you're ready to speak, just like give us a signal and then you come in, okay? Right on. Right on, brother. Okay. So sorry for that distraction. Where were we?
Talking about now.
Okay.
Now's he supported my channel as well. Really good guy. He's the one that actually helped influence the interview with Paget that I had. Really good guy and supporter, and I just want to say thanks. Now I appreciate you, brother.
Hi, Nell. It's my first time meeting you. Oh, no mic today? You're on mute? All right. No, David and Nell.
I thought we said we weren't doing sign language.
Oh, all right. I wanted to share with you a really cool thing that I saw from one of my Facebook people who are Yang Gang, and I'm going to set that up right now while you're doing other stuff.
Actually, I'm thinking one of the things that we have to be careful of is there's always a tendency to fall back on the old narratives instead of, like if we're not careful. And I think that's what my concern is. Like, for example, a lot of people think that nonviolence strategies are passive.
Suffer, I'm too hot when you do that. Are you trying to hear?
And that's not really true at all. It's very assertive, like a nonviolent strategy. Or if we think about, let's say, the Malcolm X versus Martin Luther King thing, Malcolm X is very powerful, but part of the show of strength is in defense of your community. And so I think that's what I get concerned about. What's happening is that people are falling back into misinterpretations of old narratives, and they're playing that out. And it's like, or we're not noticing that, like, the white supremacists are involved in kind of being provocateurs, So
yeah, they're definitely.
So we've caught those on video. Mm-hmm.
Yep, inciting and escalating and things along those lines, and that's definitely one of the good things about technology at this point is we can catch these individuals in the act, just like we caught the murder of George Floyd. Things like that were happening for a long, long time. We just didn't have the technology that we do now to catch them in the act and say, well, you can't ignore this. So they can't ignore the provocateurs and the people that are inciting violence and escalation because we have them on camera now.
Well, I'll tell you, the good thing about technology is I just found the mute button. So.
Oh, good job. You're one step ahead of a lot of us.
Quintus, Ron, Faye, how you doing? It's good to see you guys. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I just wanted to show you this wonderful. I think this is Karen's against police brutality.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, from Lauren Tripp, one of our great Yang Gang people.
Yep.
I'd like to speak to the manager of systemic racism, please.
Yeah. Yep.
I've never thought I'd see the Karens embracing that. Embracing the Karen.
But you know what they have? I mean, they're really. It's so awful that I don't think very many people can stomach watching that and not want to do something about it right now. But this has happened over and over. I was just thinking back after this started that, back in the day when I was going to school, way long ago, let's say 1992, the first year I went to UC Berkeley, and I had a supervisor who was Black. And I had to go through, first of all, we had just come out of one set of riots for, oh man, right now my brain is fried. I'm trying to think of all the terrible things that happened. Okay, so the first thing that happened was there were riots the spring and the summer before I went to school. And that was the Rodney King. Do you remember Rodney King being beaten? And then
yeah,
I might be too old for everybody.
I remember that.
And then the next thing that happened right after that was the O.J. Simpson murder case.
Yep.
Which is one of the people say probably one of the reasons why he beat that case is people were still very much angry over the Rodney King situation, and so they wanted to see him get one over no matter what. It was like it's our turn.
All right, and then after that, it was from then we had the 17 days of riots, even in the Bay Area, because of what happened to Michael Brown. All right, Officer Darren Wilson was never charged for a crime when that happened. He was shot dead. Michael Brown was shot dead in Ferguson, Missouri. Do people remember those riots? Because that was a long time ago. And so I feel like history keeps repeating itself. And, and then it went national, and then we think something's going to happen, and nothing happens.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to my mother about. That's what I was mentioning. My mom's like, I've seen all this before. This is just a repeat of what we've already been going through, and people will be mad for, days, maybe even weeks, but then what comes from it? Nothing. And then rinse and repeat all over again a year, maybe a year and a half from now, everyone will get angry again. And that's why I think there has to be legislative change and there has to be an uproot. Go ahead, David. Like you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, it is history repeating itself. It's terrible. It's like, how often do we need to learn? Like, how often does a young Black man have to die before people wake the fuck up? And just, this isn't right, man. This isn't.
But I think we didn't learn. Obviously, we did not learn.
Obviously.
Right? So we didn't have a solution presented.
Right.
We, the people, have learned, but they haven't learned, and so the division continues. It's still us versus.
Well, I think we need to take for granted what we did learn. I mean, so before I was born, like in the civil rights movement, watching people peacefully march and getting sicked on with dogs, seeing that did change things. That did change hearts, which is what we need to change the laws eventually too. So I guess my concern right now is part of my thing is like, where's the news, right? Because people seeing that video did change something, right? But at the same time, like we have a video of some dude, some like a white guy in this, this black thing knocking out windows. Or am I? And thing is, I'm seeing things online which are saying that his ex-wife identified him, and he's a St. Paul police officer. Where is the news? What are you waiting for? Is it this guy? Is it this guy, or is it not this guy? And if it's not that guy, we should leave him alone, right? But it's on social media, but the news is not talking about it.
Yeah, and
they never will. They never ever will. Mainstream media doesn't care about the people, and they never have. Because they're bought by big, huge corporations that they listen to, who literally give them the narrative. So, for example, if you look at Cenk Uygur, if you look at Crystal Ball, I'm just going to use them for example, when they were on MSNBC and what have you, when they decided to speak out, when they just got a little bit progressive, they were called into the office and they say, "Hey, you can't speak on that. This is what you need to speak on." And guess what? They left, and a lot of them started their own companies and etc. But the mainstream media they're not practicing real journalism. They have a narrative. Honestly, that narrative isn't to show us the truth. So that's why independent media like myself, like even the bigger channels, Kyle Kalinske, etc., they try. But then they get squashed too, because the mainstream media then goes to places like YouTube and says, "Hey, we don't like this. Let's talk about money." And then YouTube passes policies which then squash independent media, which was giving us the truth about like that guy breaking out windows and stuff like that. And so now we don't even aren't able to progress and get more eyes on us. It's like a constant battle. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, so we talked about the riots and what we learned from it, right? But then we definitely forget because let's use Kamala Harris, for instance, right? She was a prosecutor. She was against body cam on officers, didn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
But then a lot of people wanted Kamala Harris because she was of color and she was a very smart, educated woman to become president of the United States. Now she has a horrible history.
Kind of sexy too.
I'll leave
that out there.
I'm more of a Tulsi fan, but I hear you. So she has horrible policies. She was covering for her officers in many, many cases and was against body. I can't imagine anybody making an excuse for being against police body cams. It protects the officer and it will protect us, the pedestrians, right? It would protect everybody, but she was against that. And then once she runs for president, oh no, I'm for body cams. We need to not forget about the people that are the past, the people that are putting us in the positions that we're in, and hold them accountable. Well, it all comes back to the people who are voting to be in power.
That's the problem with politicians. There's a difference between governing and being a politician. Like, to govern is a totally different thing than to run for government, right? When you govern, you have to have this judicial balanced mind. But when you're a politician, you say any goddamn thing you want to and appeal to whatever crowd you're in front of at that moment. And I don't understand why nobody has ever been like, you know what, we don't need politicians, we need governors, we need people that can govern.
So here's another place, I believe this was in Minneapolis, or I'm not sure, but this is where I have a Twitter thing up here now. It's a video that's had 4 million views now. Okay, so we've got, I'm going to play it.
Why I'm doing this, guys. I ain't got part of that shit. I zoomed in. I'll zoom out a little bit. Those cops will come.
So this video I actually posted. I actually covered it. I uploaded it today, and I was talking about this very video that you're playing. That has the guy that's been identified as an officer breaking the windows.
Oh, it was a cop?
Yeah. Yeah, people are saying
Apparently it was, yeah.
he's a cop.
Wow.
Yeah. Now the precinct,
So, yeah,
the precinct they're saying he's a part of is denying it, but
Yeah, luckily
yeah,
all
yeah.
these videos
Yeah.
have actually been able to identify the person. Even with all that mask and umbrella and everything on, people were able to zoom in, and several people got it from different angles, you know. So things are different now. That,
And
you know,
his
police get caught.
And his ex-wife too.
Say again?
His ex-wife identified him. Apparently.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
She would,
social
right?
media and everything. So
yeah,
definitely.
If I were
that
wearing
is
if I were wearing a
insane.
mask and goggles and I were walking around, my ex-wife could identify me. So I think I could.
She'd be like, "Quintus!"
No, she'd be like, "That's him. That's him."
That is insane, man. Holy crap.
She will tell on you immediately.
She would. She would. She just that's the kind of person she could tell the truth. Hey, you did it. That was you. You're the one that put it on.
You know what bothers me most about this whole thing is the fact that, and I mentioned it the other day when Ron was talking with Boyd the other day. I said, you know, everybody always says, "Oh, it's just a few bad apples. It's just a few bad apples," and I say, you know, what happens? You know, if it's just a few bad apples, why aren't why aren't all the good cops stopping the bad ones?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's frustrating because you see all these other cops there was another cop there and he let it happen.
Well, there's three other cops there.
Look at that. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating because, you know, I'll tell you, I've lost a lot of friends because of this same topic. I've lost a lot of friends, a lot of people that have family that are cops, and they just want to defend them and whatever. And I say, look, this is just how it is. And the sad part is that no matter how much you know your rights, no matter how much you know how to hold back and just, you know, how to treat a police encounter, you know, just because you're a different color skin, it's not fair that you be treated a certain way. You know what I mean? And it's Ron tweeted something I think yesterday or something saying that he didn't realize he had a tattoo on his back and it's a target. You know, and that was deep, Ron. I'll tell you that was very deep. Because,
Yeah, there were people that it took a long time for me to realize there were people that want me dead or don't want me around or existing simply because of melanin.
Yep.
Because I exist. And there's nothing I can do about that.
Okay, so I believe that there really is something we can do about that, which is what I was talking about to Ronnie about earlier before you came in, Nell, and before Quintus. So I don't know if you heard it, and I want to just say it real fast again. My idea is I want to trend this hashtag, and it's Nerf the government. All right. So just like, you know, the Nerf balls and sports equipment, you know, where it's safer for the kids to use it, I think we need a government that is no longer authorized to do violence to us.
That ain't gonna
Which
work.
means
That ain't
not
gonna
only you
work.
tell them don't be racist, telling people don't be racist doesn't mean anything. We've tried that for years. Okay. What we need is to not buy them the equipment. We need to buy them some other tools. Okay. They got the wrong tools in their hands. They're going to use them. If every tool you have is a hammer, that's all you got. Everybody else, all the problems are nails. So if you give them pepper spray, what are they going to bring out to use during the riot? The pepper spray.
Say you're
know?
a beautiful person, but you're so wrong on that it's just not going to work. It just won't.
All right. Tell me.
It
I
just won't work.
Okay, so here's something that Richard Spencer, pretty much the leader, the face of the alt-right movement, has said. He said he's not afraid of black men rising up and, you know, getting these big positions and getting the rights they deserve. He doesn't think that's ever going to happen. He thinks we've made our mark in history and this is what we're going to be. This is just what we're going to be. What he's afraid of is mixed race individuals being born and coming up because they identify from both sides and they don't see black and white. When the more you have mixed race children, all the racism, all the hate, all that anger will eventually, at some point in
My kids are half
history, be
Japanese.
washed out. Has Japanese. So when we have all these races coming together and making children and running the world, that's when the power that they hold will eventually go away. That's what Richard Spencer, the leader of the alt-right, is afraid of. Now,
Yes.
people can say, I don't know how far off that is. When is that going to happen? We have to survive until then. But I mean, that is, I do agree that is partly a solution, is people just
Mixing
loving
the
one
color.
another and starting
Yep.
families
Yep.
of all different races and genders and ethnicities and cultures, and
Mixing
not letting
the
anybody
color.
stop that or shaming anybody for that happening.
Right. And you're absolutely right, man. Mixing the colors. We got to mix the palette. We got to mix it up.
Well, I'm doing my part in that, but let's talk about why you don't think it'll help. I got 3 little mixed babies. All right. But why do you think it won't work? I think that's what we do in our house. Okay, you need to go on a diet. You don't buy fatty things and put them all there. You say, I got 50 boxes of cookies in my pantry. I'm going to eat those things, right? So when I want to go on a diet, I get them the right tools. So
Can somebody else chime in about this Nerf idea?
I mean, are you suggesting we give all the cops Nerf guns? I mean,
no, I actually no. The types of tools they need are tools for negotiation, peace, listening, all right, empathy. These are the types of trainings that police people should be getting. We need to repurpose them. So instead of the purpose of let's go and stop them, we're going to have a purpose of let's go and help them. Because they are supposed to protect and serve. So number one protection is you don't bring weapons to protect them. You bring, food, water,
Bring weapons to protect yourself.
yeah, but
items of comfort.
you know what though? Look, I live in New York City, and in New York, okay, I'll just say it like this. Cops, they have 6 months of training and then they're out in the street. It's not enough. It's not enough. Actually, I like something that Heidi Briones put. She said on Twitter. Hold on, let me see if I can find it, and then I'll.
Okay, while you're looking for that, I want to finish my thought.
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
so that's number one is that they bring things that actually help you. For example, food and water. Okay, so that's a calming thing, and that is providing. That is protection. Okay, a gun is not protection. I point a gun at you. Do you feel protected? No. Okay, so number two, they need to bring something that amplifies your voice. So they bring the megaphones and they give it to you, and they have somebody actually help you to chant the thing so everybody feels like you're there to help them. Number three, okay, they take the information down. They got to organize that information. They have pencil pushers, all right? People who are harmless. They come with their clipboards and they write down everything that everybody is talking about. They write down what's happening. They write down what the feelings are. They write down what the complaints are. And then they take that information, organize it, and decide, okay, who needs to hear about this? Who is the person in charge of this particular complaint? So that person's going to take care of it. I give this to the police chief. I give this to the governor. I give this to legislators. Okay? And so different people are going to need to address all of these different problems. And what are the solutions people have proposed? I take that as maybe demands of the people. So now what we have is we have a situation where people are angry. They make a lot of angry, stances, and then nobody takes the information anywhere. We just wait for some violence to happen, and then we wish it would be over. That's it.
Well,
But
today,
yeah.
what I was saying, today, AOC put something up. She put up a tweet, and Heidi actually responded to it. Heidi Briones, she wrote, require 1 year of service of social work as a social worker, teacher, mentor, a coach in an undeserved community before applying to become a police officer. No one's first public service job should be punitive in nature.
And we shouldn't send policemen to punish, because these are not people who are wrong yet, right? When they start breaking rules, they're wrong. But before that, they're doing something that we want them to do. The democracy wants to hear the people.
So 4 of my friends set out to become police officers. I known them for a couple years to go to my gym with me. Really good guys. 4 of them set out to become police officers. Only 3 got in because one of them didn't pass the lie detector test, and you can take it later, but he went on to have a whole different career. So 3 of them are police officers. And so from what I gather talking to them, it's very much a culture, right? It's that blue lives, that's what it is. It's them and it's us. So I agree. I think exactly. We have to change that culture. Yes, I agree. There should be more training. There should be more lessons in dealing with the community. And also the people up top. We can't have people all the way at the top saying, when you're throwing them in the car, why are you protecting their head? Just bang their head against the roof. Who cares? I got the cops' backs. We can't have that. We're going to need a large majority of people on one accord for something like that to happen. And again, that's just where it comes in, where we need to go ahead, Quintus.
I think this is actually a lot easier than we all think. Like, you've heard of community policing. It's like this new style and a certain way of doing things. If I were to go back in time to the origins of policing, like the origins of it, like in England there are 9 principles of policing. And if you read those principles of policing from like then, it's what today's community policing is. So the real question is, policing has always been something that requires the cooperation of the public. That is what policing has always been. But something happened in the past 20, 30, 40 years where it became something else. It became something militarized. And so in a way, it is a culture thing. But the thing is, how do we get back to, we're calling it community policing, but really that's policing. That's the original policing, what it was. But most of us don't know that.
There has to be an accountability issue. Like there has to be an accountability issue to help quell corruption, because the corruption is rampant. I've seen it in my younger days growing up. Like a lot of crooked cops doing a lot of crooked stuff. Like just couldn't even believe it. And I mean, we talk about the body cam showing all sorts of things. When they turn their body cam off, it goes back 2 minutes and they don't even realize it. And planting evidence on people and stuff like that. When stuff like that happens, there needs to be repercussions to the nth degree. And we can't slack on that. Right. Because if we slack on that, the culture is never going to change, because they know they're going to get away with doing whatever they want to do. And corruption is going to be rampant.
Yeah. And also, is it just a cultural thing or is it a racial thing?
I'm sure that plays a part as well. I'm sure that plays a large part.
I think a lot of it is racial. You know, it's racial. It's racism, period. It's just plain, simple, flat out racist bullshit. And
well, that's the thing, is racism and tribalism is not going away by us just saying, oh, this is racist, and you should stop doing it. We've got to do something else.
Right. We recognize it, but we don't know what to do about it. We see it, but me as a white, privileged male, I don't know what to do. Aside from treat my neighbors and people I meet with respect, on a larger scale, I don't know what to do about it.
As long as there's income inequality in the way that it is, it's going to be really hard to get. Listen, racism has existed forever. It's been there for a very long time, and to be honest, if we're being completely honest, it's probably not going to go away anytime soon. But there's things we can do to quell it. There's things we can do to minimize it as much as possible, so we're not getting in the situations that we're in. And then also, you know, again, having mixed children, that's going to have a profound effect on it as well.
Sure.
But income inequality, I think, is a really big factor in it.
Well, see, I don't think the mixed children thing is necessarily going to work, because after all, there's always going to be darker skinned people and lighter skinned people, even in Asia. Okay, within the same, you're all Chinese or whatever, but the darker skinned people will get it worse. Yeah.
It's not about the skin. If my mother is white and my dad is black, I'm not going to go and hate the other person because their skin's darker. You look like my father.
Actually, I
Am I
actually
gonna be-
know some people who are who have some trouble with racial issues even after being in that being the child. So but the main thing is, like, in Asian communities, for example, the darker skinned people just have it harder because we think of them as being the workers that work outside, and that's how you get your skin dark, is because you're not the office or you're the wealthy person who gets to sit indoors. You're outside doing labor, hard labor. And so the hard labor puts you in a different economic class, and really it all comes back to universal basic income for the Yang Gang, like, in order to really have economic justice, every single person has to have enough freedom to make their own decisions without being afraid of not having enough food or shelter or something like that. So
it also sounds like they need to change their way of thinking. If simply because my skin is more bronze than you, then you're just the work. And I get where it stems from, but that kind of thinking is wrong, right? I'm not going to look at we shouldn't be looking at anybody. And again, I think where I disagree with you is the younger generation has a completely different way of thinking than that, right? As the younger generation is growing up and it's all mixed children and mixed offspring, they're not going to be thinking that way. I know it exists now. That person's skin is slightly more darker than mine, so I don't like them. But that's not how the generation coming up is thinking. They have a completely different thinking than that mindset.
well, I already don't think that way, and in my generation, and I know you don't.
That's
So
not
let's take a look at some of the things we can do.
The point is, what he is saying is, like, the future generations won't give a crap about that crap. You know it, I know it, they know
But what
it.
can we do right now? We need to do something right now. And let's take a look at this community policing, which this particular one makes it very simple. There's 3 areas. Community partnerships, problem solving, and organizational features.
May I ask that we go to the original ones? Because, I mean, I think in some ways we are reinventing the wheel with this community policing thing. And most of the community policing things actually go back to the original principles anyway.
Put a link up of what you'd like to share, and I will try to share it.
Actually, I did.
Okay.
Oh, in the private chat. My bad.
Oh, okay. I should put it in the other one.
And just to let you guys, I can't see the live. I can see the private chat, but I can't see live comments. It's kind of weird. I can't see the live comments.
Ron, I have 2 windows open. I have the actual live and I have the StreamYard.
Oh, I might have to do that then.
Yeah.
So here, Quintus is talking about 9 policing principles that were made by apparently Sir Robert Peel way back in the day of 1829, back in the London Metropolitan Police Force. I see it's white on yellow, so it's hard to read. But he became known as the father of modern policing.
Yeah, and actually, even just the first one, I mean, basically, the purpose of police is to prevent crime and disorder as an alternative to repression by military force and severity of legal punishment. That's what policing is, but that's not what's practiced. I mean, today here in the United States, it's almost like when a police force acts as a military force, which is what a lot of police departments are being trained to do, including with weapons. Well, that's not really what policing is. And recognizing that the power of the police and to fulfill their function, principle 2, is that their power of the police is dependent upon public approval of their existence. So in other words, if the police do not have the respect for the public, the police have no power.
Right. So it seems to me like nerf the government actually goes along very well with these.
I think it does. That's why, I mean, I kind of perked up. I like the nerfing idea because it's like, it's almost like getting back to what is the purpose of policing really? And for some reason, it's like, actually what really disturbed me when I was Googling this, principles of policing came up that were not the real ones. There was like someone had taken the principles that were more like Nerf-like, and they had turned it into like some kind of command and control militaristic thing.
So that has been happening to policing, and we're relegating them to a more and more limited function rather than expanding their function to really serve and protect by being given the correct training and the correct tools. So if all you have are weapons, I can't see them using anything else. How else can they meet the needs of people?
In that sense, it's almost like the opposite in a way that there is like a broader thing of what policing is, but now we've narrowed it the past 30, 40 years into something militaristic. It's someone coming up and me, an officer telling me to do something, and if I question it, all of a sudden it's like it becomes like, hey, why are you questioning my authority? I'm like, what? You know?
Perhaps they're talking about this more in Britain because I heard that most police there only use batons and do not have guns or lethal weapons.
This is true.
Yeah.
And that's true in a lot of different countries. But we are. Okay. I heard David say something, I think, but I don't see him in the screen. So.
He's just moving really fast.
Oh, okay. All right. So, so I think the principles that we have that you're showing us here are actually very relevant today. I mean, even though they were created back in the 1892. Yeah.
Well, the other side, an example too is I'm not sure if I found about there used to be these things apparently in the East Coast called police athletic leagues. And that's when the police basically create athletic leagues in the city and, for working with, coaching and working with kids. And a good value of police athletic league was as a way for police officers to actually get to know the communities in which they're in. And I know one officer in Jersey City who was involved in the police athletic league throughout his career. And it's almost at the point, he knows people. If he goes to a community, he, not only the kids, but actually he used to be a coach for some of their parents as well. But if we're going to take a very militaristic view of policing, doing a police athletic league is something that's considered soft stuff and not essential to policing, and it gets cut. So it's almost so in a way it's really tragic. And so actually I think it's maybe race had a lot to do with this. It's almost as if ever since desegregation happened, all of a sudden, our country doesn't want to invest in anything public anymore when something public is stuff that has to be shared with Black people. That's what it feels like. That's what
100% agree.
Yeah.
100% agree.
I mean, I don't know. Policing, back in the day when there was segregation, policing looked like this, like what's on the screen. That's what policing was when it was only white people.
Now, I wanted to mention a principle, which is a definition of government or legitimate government, which is a basic definition of government can be basically a monopoly on the use of violence in a particular geographical area. So the government is only legitimate if the people agree that these are the only legitimate agents of violence. So when a police officer shoots somebody, because he's an agent of the government, it's like we had all authorized him to do it. And so how can you blame him for carrying out the public order, right? And so nothing happens, and they just at most they get a reprimand or they get sent away, and then we get very angry. But see, if we put all of our anger on that one person, it's misdirected, because we should take responsibility for the fact that we have authorized him to do these things, and we should not be authorizing them. We've never learned that we're the ones who are authorizing this sort of behavior by our creating these police departments. So we have to go back and just simply say, we are not going to authorize you to do this anymore. We, the people, will not tolerate, and we will not buy you the tools. We will not buy you the type of training that allows you to kill people for standing in the street.
You're so wrong.
Come back at me. I love it. That's why you're here.
I'm sorry.
Tell me. Wait, Dave. Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah. So, okay, you're wrong. You're wrong. The police need to be defended against any criminal situation they come upon. whether it be black, white, pink, yellow, purple, green, it doesn't matter. They need to have those weapons and those defensive armaments to protect themselves and also to protect the public. Okay, so yes, we're talking about a very evil action by poorly trained, ignorant scumbags that murdered a man. Nobody's denying that, and they had no right being on the police force. But you can't arm our police force with mittens and kittens and expect them to do anything at all. You just can't expect that to happen. It's not going to happen. The police around the world, every police force, yes, the British don't generally carry guns. They carry bobbies, nightsticks, and but they have access to guns. It's not like we can't go find a gun. Oh, whoa, sorry, mate, I can't go find a gun. Right.
Well, but I think we have to be careful though, like about, I mean, especially in the case of George Floyd. I mean, based on what seems to be going on, this is not a typical case of, hey, a random police officer, they buy it. You know, like they look like they singled this dude out. They singled this brother out.
Yeah, that was a horrible, horrible, unexcusable. Don't get me wrong, unexcusable murder. It was murder.
The gentleman that did this, I mean, he has a record of at least over 12 complaints of him doing things like this. And that all stems back to the corruption.
He was down in New Orleans, right?
Yep. And that stems back to corruption because every single complaint, there was no action taken. As a matter of fact, they called him a man of valor. They gave him a man of valor title, and you have over 12 accusations.
I am not defending that man.
No. I know you're. I actually think we need a mix. I think we need a mix of both what David is saying and what Faye is saying. We need a balance of the two, and these officers need to be retrained and then retrained multiple times. Just like you have to, you have to retake that officer test years later, a couple years later, however many months later, and that's the physical, and that's the lie detector, and that's all of the above again to make sure you're fit, and I mean fit in every possible way for the job. You need to be a public servant, and I'm with what AOC said. You should take some social issues, right? Like Quintus was saying, it wasn't like that before segregation, right? Segregation. They would know the officer would know everybody on the block. He would know the whole family. He would know, oh, that's little Johnny down there. Like the officers were a lot more community driven. Now I don't think there's their community is the fellow officers. So I think we just need a balance of both.
Yes.
How we get there, I think we need to.
I agree.
Can I remind everyone, put the mute button on when you are not talking, so we can hear whoever is talking. And boy, that was the cutest little girl over there.
Sorry. Oh, thank you. That's my
I
daughter.
actually really liked that the proposal by AOC also, but we need more proposals like that. Definitely.
Actually, this was something that I've been quiet. I was thinking exactly what Ronnie was saying, and it's crazy. And this is why I follow his channel, because everything that Ron says, I just tend to agree on every time. And I think it's true. Like Ron was saying before, the force is kind of like, I don't want to say gang because we use Yang Gang, you know what I mean? But they are like a gang, like they defend each other. This is the reason why when cops do these things, they don't get arrested right away. And then when they get arrested, what happens? There's an investigation and all this stuff. Months and months later, 6 months later, they're still not arrested. There's no charges. And at the end of the day, guess what? Oh, we found they did nothing wrong. That's BS. It's BS.
I actually got some pushback when I did the video, and I said, I guarantee, not a lot of pushback, but a little bit. I guarantee he's not going to get first-degree murder. You'd be lucky lucky if he got second degree, and it's probably going to be manslaughter. And it unfolded exactly the way I thought it was. And I said, we'd also be incredibly lucky. I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't gamble on it, that the other officers even get charges. And if they do get charges, they're going to be minimal. They're going to be really minor.
What happened with the case with Eric Garner, for example? What happened to that cop? How long did it take for them to finally fire him from the force? And what I don't know if I remember this. Maybe I'm misremembering this, but did I hear that he started working somewhere else or got a job somewhere else? I don't remember. But it's really pathetic that these things happen, and they continue to happen.
No, but we actually have an example in Minneapolis, right? There was like a woman that called the police. The police officers arrived. She goes running to the car to meet them, and the police officer gets shot, and he shoots and he kills her. That police officer is in jail right now. But then again, that police officer was black, and he had shot a white woman.
Yep.
Be ready for the new spin. I'm actually covering it. I'm actually going to log off in like 5 minutes because I got to finish this video. I'm uploading a video. I don't know if you guys have heard about the woman that was just charged of attempted murder in New York. Well, during the riots, she tried to kill 4 New York Police Department officers. She threw an incendiary object in their car and almost killed them. So be ready for a huge media spin, because as long as officers are now getting hurt, where the rioters and the protesters or whomever are definitely going to be looked at as the bad guys in this scenario, which is going to make it harder for us to do the kind of situation that Faye's talking about. If we're out there also damn near like you can't throw an incendiary in a car and think, no, I was just trying to hurt him. I wasn't trying to kill him. No, you were trying to kill those officers. So it's gonna be an interesting yeah, it's not she wasn't trying to nerf them. So yeah, it's gonna get ugly.
Oh man,
it's gonna get ugly. But look, guys, I got.
Thank you for staying with us, Ronnie. It's been about 2 hours. You've been on. Yeah.
No problem. No problem. Annette, I appreciate the invite.
Thank you so much for coming.
Together.
Ronnie, I gotta say, Ronnie, I love that you're doing more live streams because I value your opinion.
Yeah.
You're very smart. I can't wait to see what your future holds because you're a very smart guy. I really like your stuff.
I appreciate it. The next one's got to be with Andrew. The next one's got to be with Andrew.
It's going to be.
I got to lock that in.
I gotta say my apologies to Faye. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I'm sorry.
No, it's because we're passionate. We're all passionate about this.
I
David's
think
passionate.
we all
If you looked
agree
at the Yankees.
I think I heard David say an apology to me. You don't have to apologize to me. You're here to disagree with me. I'm here to listen to someone who disagrees with me because that's what we need. How am I going to convince somebody who disagrees with me if I never talk to them?
Right. I just didn't want you to think that I was attacking you.
No, I do not. And in fact, that's why I hope people can be comfortable to come here with all different opinions, all different perspectives, and different viewpoints. That's what we're about. Is I want to hear why people are doing the things they do and how do they think. And I think you do too, right?
Oh yes. All right. Yep. So the rest of you, thank you. It was a pleasure to meet all of you.
Yes, absolutely. Faye, I think we're going to be in another chat sometime soon. We keep bumping into each other randomly, so I'm sure it's going to happen again.
Yeah. Word, brother. Yeah, I subscribe
all right, guys.
to your channel.
Take care.
Yes, subscribe. I appreciate you. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys soon, all right?
All right.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
All right.
Sorry, I had cut Quintus off. He wanted to say something before. And I feel sorry. I'm sorry about that.
No, I think I said it.
Did you? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Before earlier today, we were having a discussion, and Ariel from the Ariel's Armada on Twitter, he says he gave some idea also about a solution. All right. So his solution was, what if when the protesters are protesting, right, instead of just kneeling, how about they have a conversation with the policeman and say, so for example, there was one lady who actually came up to the policeman and said, we just want to know if any of you can agree, you know, that this terrible thing that happened was wrong or something like that, some basic opinion type of thing. Please raise your hand. There you go, Ariel. You're going to tell this story. Just as I was.
Yeah.
Good job, Annette.
Yeah.
Wrangled another
So
one.
wait,
Ariel, you tell
say
the
that
story.
again because I lost you halfway through.
Well, you remember we were podcasting before, and you.
Yeah.
But after it was done, okay, then we were sitting around chatting, and you said there was a lady that asked the policeman how they felt, and would they raise their hand if they agreed. Can you tell that story for us?
Oh yeah. So like I think there's a really, really smart way of protesting instead of acting like a bunch of mindless zombies that just want to like attack just for the sake of like, oh, I just want to be mad. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay, what are you here for? What is it? So she said, she just came up to the officer. She said, like, we're not here to harm you. We're not here to hurt you. We're not here to like start any kind of instigation. We're just here to find out if you think that what that officer did was wrong. So if you think that it was unfair, that the way they treated that person, just raise your hands in the air. Raise your hands in the air, and then like only one or two officers in the back, and one of them was a black officer, raise his hands in the air, and then the other officers were just like this, and they're just standing there like that. So it's like, okay, like you know, it's like she's like, come on, like just raise your hands. It's like we can't have, you know, people in our government and law enforcement with no emotions and no critical thinking skills. There's like a zombie problem on both sides. On the side of the protesters, that it's all about just like screaming and yelling and breaking shit, and on the officer side of just like pushing them back and like meeting them with the same kind of aggression. It's like, God damn it, it's 2020. We all should have like a brain, and we should all be able to know how to speak to each other instead of being violent towards each other. And I'm thinking like on both sides.
It sounds like it's tribalism, you know. It's like,
right,
most of those officers knew it was wrong, but they wouldn't publicly like, it's like say,
acknowledge.
Yeah, they wouldn't acknowledge it.
Because it's like your team against my team.
It's kind of like
It's
you know, like in corporate America. You know, in corporate America, when you work for a company and you know that things are being done wrong, but you don't want to stand up because your boss is going to tell you something, or they're going to try to fire you, or you know what I mean, they're going to retaliate against you. Or
right.
Listen, I have a friend who was an officer in NYPD, and he is no longer he's no longer an officer now. When he started speaking up and standing up against what, you know, the corruption and the things that were happening, what the NYPD started doing was they started putting him in the bad neighborhoods by himself on foot. Okay, so imagine that you're in New York City. They go ahead, they put you in the Bronx, in the worst neighborhood, or they'll put you in Brooklyn, in Brownsville, you know, East New York, the worst neighborhoods, you know, where not the worst. I don't want to say the worst neighborhoods. I want to say the most dangerous neighborhoods. You know, just to be a little more PC, right? But you know, they would put him in the most dangerous neighborhoods on foot, you know, and by himself, no partner. Nobody to be with it, no patrol car, you know, all because of what? Because he's a good cop who's talking against what's happening and what's right, you know. And this is what's wrong with the police department, you know, that
it's wrong with every sector of our society, not just like the police department. It in sales. It's like if you need a little bit of help or training, or you don't hit your numbers and you show a little bit of sign of weakness, boom, you're gone.
Yeah, unfortunately. That's how it is.
I just want to say something. I have a friend. One of my best friends from high school was a police officer for a while, and we couldn't believe he became a cop. We're like, Jimmy, really? Anyway, he went to Iraq and Afghanistan. He came back as a military police, so he had the training to be a cop. And he ended up becoming the chief of police in this little tiny town called Altoona, Iowa. And he quit. He quit because he couldn't stand the bullshit. He couldn't stand the politics. He couldn't stand how other cops would get away with, obviously disgraceful and dirty tricks. So he quit. And luckily he's a musician also. He's a damn good bass player. So now that's all he does. He plays bass professionally. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, you know what? I think these riots are happening now because people just want to be heard. And for far too long, it just feels like they're not listening. And they're not. And the reason it feels that way is because it keeps happening. It's almost like when you say, "Oh, I'm sorry," but you keep stepping on my foot. Oh, I'm sorry. And then it happens again. Oh, I'm sorry, but then you go ahead and you step on my foot again. It's like you're not sorry. You're not sorry, and that's
stop the behavior.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I mean that's the same way I thought about schools. Like everybody said, no, but they're good teachers and they're great teachers, but they're like a minority, and it's not like, and the teachers suck. Like I hated school because it was like, because they only teach to the tests and the SAT scores and all this like rote memorization. But at the end of the day, like any student that's a little different or a little, they learn in a different way, they're labeled, they're told that they have like this wrong with them and that wrong with them. Let me tell you something. Most things are wrong with the administration and the principals and the counselors because of the incentive structure than it is with the students, It's like the fish rots from the head up. So we have to go up there. It's like, who is up there who's trickling down all this crap to the rest of our society and cut it from the head? And that's what Andrew Yang was trying to do, but the system didn't even want to let him in. Just the corruption of the journalists, getting his name wrong and not giving him enough airtime. And then you want to talk to me, like these journalists have a culture of corruption too, because it's all about these dark incentive structures. In every institution that we look at, you can find these dark, perverse incentive instructions that are causing all the dysfunction.
Absolutely. Quintus, by the way, I want to say thank you. You are an inspiration. I love listening to you speak. Super smart man. Just wanted to say I'm happy to be here and be able to share the screen with you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah,
and Ariel, nice meeting you, brother.
Nice meeting you too, Nell.
And David, guys, I have to go. It's movie night with my kids, so I'm gonna get going. I'm sorry, but it was a lot of fun. Annette, thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Thanks for joining us. It was great.
Great, same. Goodbye.
Take care.
Bye. Oh, also, Quiz, I heard that you started you were part of a PAC before.
Oh yes, I was. Abundance for America.
Cool. We were me and Faye were actually thinking that, like, if I ever wanted to make a run for Congress as a Republican under UBI, I want to see like how a PAC can be put together, so I could get some funding or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what I could say about, I guess the lesson that I got from I was the president of Abundance for America. I'd say that it just reinforced how much it's about raising money. Like if you're going to run for office, There's no way around it. You're going to have to ask people for money. There are new ways of asking for money, like in social media, etc. But it's just an occupational hazard. And everything involving PACs, it's almost like the whole PAC system is designed for people who already know the system. So in other words, it's like for example, if the Super PAC Abundance for America is deactivated, but if it was activated, I could not communicate with you as a candidate about how things work, about where I'd have to be on the outside. At the same time, it seems that the way that so many super PACs are done is I could be like, hey, Aaron, I'm your buddy, man. Yeah, we know each other. And then I'm even working on your campaign, but then I quit.
Right.
And then a certain period of time later, I start a super PAC. So I'm communicating with you, but I know you and you know me. And so I can kind of infer what you want. So there's a lot of corruption that's built into it. In other words, the rules are written in a way that supports people who already know the system. And people who are regular citizens, I mean, how would you know how it operates,
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share a quick tweet, random tweet about Andrew Yang. Police mistreatment of Black Americans is both a reality and a moral stain that threatens to tear our country apart. So,
actually, a friendly amendment I could make: you should just cross off police mistreatment of Black Americans, because as we saw, this police of mistreatment of Black Americans happens in the park,
Right.
Oh yeah, at a Starbucks.
Yeah, in Starbucks, so.
Yeah, you don't need to be a cop to mistreat a Black American.
Yeah.
We see it all the time.
So.
Well, I think I'm going to have to probably hop off too, Annette. Zephyr has been waiting for me a long day, so I'm going to see you guys later. All right. Have a great day.
Bye. Too.
All right. Well, I'm here for as long as you guys have stuff to say still. So
Can I
can just chill.
Unmute now, or is it still making?
You already are.
Well, I just did.
So yeah, it tends to. The more people that are on the screen, the weirder it gets. So it sounds good now. I don't hear any echoing now.
Okay. Ariel, how you doing, man? I haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. California finally got its unemployment benefit extension thing up, so that's a plus. You're waiting for them to do that for forever, and then it's I always wanted to go travel along somewhere with my unemployment money, but with the advent of these lockdowns and these protests and stuff, it's outside is pretty screwed up.
Yeah, it's no matter how bad things get, they can only get worse.
Right,
man, first we had COVID, then we have George Floyd. It's oh God.
It's like a disaster sandwich.
And today I found some joy and comfort in the SpaceX launch.
Yeah, that was pretty.
I enjoyed that. That was good. Did you see that, Quintus? Yeah.
Yeah, yes, I did. That was exciting.
Yeah. And
I used to work for NASA, so it's I'm into that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm wearing my.
Yes. Nice.
Today. I wore it just for today, for good luck, And any little small any small good thing that happens, and this was pretty big. First astronauts lifted off from Earth in America in 9 years.
Yeah.
We haven't launched a spaceman spacewoman into orbit since the Atlantis.
Yeah, the one that Yeah.
So everybody else has gone up in the Soyuz space rockets. So I thought it was a good. And also, did you see the inside of that cockpit? It was all Star Trek and clean, and they had like little pads on their knees, and everything was touch strings. There weren't cables hanging down everywhere.
And it was set up for it to be aborted too. Like unlike the Challenger, like if something happened to it, the capsule would have disconnected and it would have parachute the whole thing.
Right.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. It was well designed, and we had two great Bob and Doug. They're up there now, Bob and Doug, and not Bob and Doug McKenzie from Canada. You're like, oh, good job, Hoser. We're up in space now, eh? But I don't know if you guys remember Second City TV, but yeah, and a Marine Corps pilot, a Navy co-pilot, and it was just a nice, beautiful one little gleaming moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something to find. Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm probably gonna go watch the full launch video now that you guys mention it.
Yeah, dude, it's well, skip to the end. Skip to the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because all you see for like 6 hours is those guys sitting on the back in their chairs, and they're like pushing buttons and stuff, and they're
Right. Yeah.
Man, don't you guys got a piss? Do you got like an internal like a piss bag or
right?
Because you've been
All right. Well, it sounds like this is a good time to come to a close. So, on that note,
See you guys.
I'm starving too, so I want to go and make dinner. Okay,
All right, take care.
guys. Thanks so much.
So thank you.
See ya.
Bye. Goodbye, David.
Yep. Bye bye. Sorry, Annette.
No problem. See ya.
That was a pretty good discussion, I thought.
Oh wait, I have to end broadcast. Hold on.